Hey, people. I've been talking about the power of names past 5 movies, and I'll put them all in a folder up here so you can catch the beginning of it. And Alfred and Merrick asked me, he says, what does it mean to thump the Bible? And he asked this on this word to all you Bible thumpers. And so Jesus F and Christ, this is a alter ego that I ended up with after YouTube decided they would reshuffle the names. But that's somebody who thinks that all the answers to everything's in the Bible. And so if you ask a question, they just tap on the Bible. They just grin at you and tap on it like it's in there, you should have read it. And these people have no idea what's in there. All they think is they think the Lord does an incredible thing. And they have no idea what the paradox is they carry as the names on. So I started reading the top of this in that last movie, and I was telling you that the name is ancient Egyptian word for the power, and it's where the word dynamo comes from, which they'll say is a magic power source. But this word names on, you'll see it in the first page of the Bible. Every time that he was creating, and he split, between the waters of the heaven and the waters of the earth, and every time he split between something, that's what they'll say is a name's on. And so in the Hebrew, the word is vin, a vin number. Everything was getting a number. So it seems like they're making fun of each other's writings, because the Hebrew, the name's on, it's a number, but you can't tell because the numbers are the same as the letters. And all you know is it's a word that you can't hardly pronounce because it's not a name, it's a number. And so I read on down here to this 7th line, and I found the world's oldest glossary. It's a Teutonic to hieroglyph glossary. And this is what caught me here. This glossy, they say, is the tongue, the dog's tongue, And so that's where they say the word glossary come from. And so tongue means a language, So a dog's language is just a bunch of a growl and So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to replace these OIs with an E. And I just figured this out maybe 5-6 movies ago. And I'll show you more proofs as we go on. So I pulled this Greek off, and I put it on my paint beside the Hebrew so we can look at this. But this is in defacit. That's where they're getting this among all this in and deface it. OI is ES, and deface it is, and vi, how or who, and ESIS, ISIS roll. Or you might read this as in deface it, an issue, ESU, and IESIS, Jesus roll. And in deface it, how ISIS roll, of grouts they swan, the glossy have to. And so grouts, grouts is, what you put between the brick to level each row of brick, you grouts, GRUTS, and this is the oldest spelling of the Old English. And the grouts they swan, KWON or CWON, like a swan. Swan comes from ancient word, means the songbird. And the grouts they swan, the song, the glossy have to. And so the grouts they swan, the song, grouts of the song, that would be these little bitty words that they put between these bigger words, to grout, to level everything up. And you can see it over here in the Hebrew where this word's read backwards after this tack here. And it's the BLK, the block, and then LVL, level, SN, and the block levels. And that's what you do with the grout. You level your blocks. Indefacit is why ISIS roll. Of grouts they song, the glossy have to. And a po, and away on drop of those kitchen ofs. And I believe this is where the word kitchen comes from. And so the beast is more of a cow. You always see cows in the kitchen. and the kitchen ofs, the kitchen who's, oppose, O-P-O-S, oppose, on the other side, oppose sides, and you see in the Septuagint that this E's not here, it's opposed sides, the opposite, the D and the T are the same, and it would be read O-P-O-S-I-T, the opposite is, as a paradox is they, to carry as, a name is on to nay, to not gift on. A name is on to not gift. Gift means free, and to not free on the slave. A name's on the slave, and to envy, T-O-V-I, vi, whose, roll, V-I-S, whose, how's, roll. And so this kind of flips it around. This says that the Egyptians are the slaves, and Israel is to whose rule. And then you see in the Hebrew they added another vin in here. It reads a little bit different. And so I saw this, I think it was on the second page. When you really catch on, it clicks. And this is W-L, will, and then K-L, and then read it backwards after this line. And so the double L turns into a I, K-L-I-K, and click, and that's when it just goes off in your head. That's when you know you got it. And it will click, and L-U-V-I, and will click a lovin' his roll. And the layers, L-A-Y-E-R-X, the layers block levels in, and will maze, will amaze, will maze. And that's where they get this does an incredible thing from the paradoxes. And the layers, the block levels in, will maze, and Adam have 'em, Lamont, L-M-O-N-T, lament down, D-O-W-N, lament down, as repel, A-S-R-I-P-L-E, as repel down. You haven't, Y-E-W-U-N-E-V-I-N, haven't, and you have them crime of in his rule. You having the crime of in his rule. And so that means that crime is the place and Israel is ruling it. But this word lament is what caught me, because I remembered when I was reading Lamentations years ago, I've been wanting to go back, and I've been waiting for something to send me, and this is what it is. Lamentations, the lament down as repel, is a glossary. It coming from the old Greek glossa, and which means a language, a speech, a wording. They put tongue in there to purposely throw you off. And it's a list of alphabetical terms in a particular domain of knowledge. It would be like a bilingual dictionary. And it's telling me that it's going to be a paradox. It's going to seem absurd when you first read it, but as you start to put it all together, that you can't prove it's untrue. And the swan, it was the same in every ancient language, from a song, a melody, a song. And so when you're writing music, you would use your glossary to grout between the words, to find words that'll rhyme and have the right meaning. And so in deface it is why, how Isis roll. That's how she rolls, she deface it. And of grouts they song the glossy have to. And a poe, and away on drop of those catchin' whose opposite is as a paradox is they carry as. A name is on to nay giftion, and to wise roll, in whose roll, whose rule. So in this book of Lamentations, it's got 5 chapters, and they're all going to have either 22 or 66 verses, and it's all going to be in alphabetical order. The first one's going to begin with Aleph, and then 2 is Bet, and 3 is Gimel. And it's the same in the Hebrew, but it just doesn't spell it out, but it'll label each one and go through the alphabet. Then in the third chapter, 66 lines. And so you see 3 lines starting with the Aleph in different words. And then 3 lines starting with the Bet. And it's a glossary. And they make it really easy to see that this is all mistranslated. You see this is the same word here, the mass and the mastinu, unless utterly you have rejected us and you are angry with us, even to very. And the reason that doesn't make any sense because they mistranslate these words somewhere else and they try to keep the meaning. So in this first line in the Hebrew, at the end it tells here what it means to be a slave. And she has become a slave. EY, they tell. They tell-ems. Do what you're told. They tell them she has become a slave. In the Goyim, sertive. The sertive made in what they tell-ems. And in this Greek Bible, it has a little more explanation before it starts the first line here, Aleph. And so this is the first day, God said, let there be, and there was. And so this is, we sieve to, and there was, and we sieve to what we asked for. And meta with to, and a, not. A camelot is tonnage, and doesn't live in Camelot, the tonnage, and none, not a Camelot is tonnage, and receive to with to not Camelot is tonnage. It on his role, the role he's playing, his role, and the hiero, in hiero, that's what they say means sacred in hieroglyphics. They say that means sacred. But I believe it just means the picture writings, the hiero. And the hieros, all them, here come a tonnage, and here is where they live. And so it's telling you what the meaning of all the picture language is. The catch is in the year miaz. And so that's what was so sacred about it. It's because it's about time. The catch is in year miaz, the clay on, the year of forming the clay, the creation. And the drench, the flood, the drench it on. Trenin Teuton. This is the ancient language, the Teutonic language. And the Trenton to Teutonify, hieros all come. And so take the hieroglyphic language and Teutonify it. And then wise in. This means knowing, hip in. But it's pronounced as a S in the Dutch, the wise in, knowing. Receive to with to not Camelot tonnage, it on his rule. And hieros all come, hiram a tonnage, the catches in, the year me as clay on, and the drench it on, tren on, teutonify, the hieros all come wise in. And so this isn't an exact science, and that's what it says here at the top of the Hebrew, and sort of made in what they tell them. It's close. It's sort of made in what. But the only place that llamas are slaves is in South America. So this ancient Teutonic language was worldwide. It's what people call Hebrew. If you believe that story about Hebrews and slaves, that's what you are, is you're a they tell-ems. You believe what you're told. It's pretty much the only way to get through life these days. If you're not doing what you're told, you better be really smart. So I'm going to cut this off here. Next movie, we'll go to Genesis 3 and look at all these names on God was calling Eve, and the name on her vagina, and the names on the spermatos, and all these names that he was calling her. A good day.